water and vegetation. That's a choice. Khayar. So Umar said to him, so therefore you escape from this qadr of Allah to this qadr of Allah. Yes, this is qadr of Allah, but it's a choice that you make. And the result of the choice that you make, Allah knows of it already and has not predetermined it as such, but Allah has known of your choice and He has written it, but it doesn't mean He has imposed it upon you. Because Allah laysa bi-dhallamin lil-'abid. Allah is not oppressive and tyrant. If we have no choice in the matter, then we have an argument against Allah on the Day of Judgment. We can say, Allah, you did not give me a choice. And that's why in Islamic theological, in the mainstream theology of Islam, is that a human being has a free will. That's why if you recall at the outset, I said the intellect is important, and a person is not legally responsible if they're insane, meaning cannot make a choice. Otherwise, the child should be held responsible if there is no free will. Right? The child, but our deen, the teaching is different. The hadith says, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. Every newborn is born on fitrah. Fitrah means the natural disposition. The natural disposition meaning people are born pure, and this is the beauty about Islam in relation to children. Islam does not see children as sinful or having carried the sin of their forefathers, because it sees that as unjust. But a child is innocent whether they are born in a Hindu family or a Christian family or a Jewish family or a Muslim family. And if they were to die killed as a child, majority of Muslim scholars, they say this child will go to paradise. Why? Because the child had no choice. When the child becomes of an age that he or she are able to discern, meaning make a choice between right and wrong, then they are held responsible. Why? Because of free choice, free will. Equally, if a person has lost their sanity, or they are asleep, or they have lost consciousness, or have been coerced or forced to do something that is not right, meaning they have no choice in the matter, then they are not legally responsible in Islamic law. And the same thing with common law. Right? Which is beautiful. And so free will is inherent in humans and the jinn, by the way, not the angels. The angels don't have free will. Most scholars say the angels don't have free will. They do exactly as they have been programmed to worship Allah constantly. They don't eat, they don't drink, but worship Allah constantly. That's why they don't disobey Allah, because there is no choice but to obey. We have a choice to obey or not to obey or disobey, and the consequences of that is upon us. And so it does not go against qadar per se, but it's consistent with qadar. I hope that explains it. Excellent. And if you ever get confused, go back to the story of Marion. That explains it beautifully. Right? Any other questions? Sisters? Brothers? Alright, I will ask you a question. Test time. That's not a test. How was this? Was it beneficial for you? Was this session beneficial? Am I explaining myself properly? Is it clear? That's good. Share with me your thoughts. When you hear something like this about Husn al-Dhan, how do you feel? How does it make you feel?
I have not question actually. Initially, people will go through after.
Yes.
Probably the way the human being thinks, and also the environment actually forced him to think initially, and the first thing he do is the things the negative.
Yes.
But when actually the human beings pass that situation or calm down immediately after that situation because of the jinn. So this could be good for this situation. But all the time, the situation that happened all the time to the people is on immediately on the time people started thinking, why such things happening?
What time is that? 5 minutes or?
Yes.
Huh?
6, 7 minutes.
6 minutes. Very quickly. The question for those who haven't heard, he says, and rightly so, sometimes people when they're tested, they initially react, maybe they're upset or they're angry or they lose it. And then when they calm down, they say, okay, now I have patience, now I can. It's interesting because something like this happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He passed by a lady who was weeping by a graveside, a graveyard. Somebody must have died, somebody she loves. And psychologically you are in a state where she's crying. So the Prophet passed by her. She could not see him. He passed behind her. And he said to her, be patient and know that Allah will reward you. Because she was in that state, she said to him, go away. فَإِنَّكَ لَمْ تُصَبْ بِمُصِيبَتِي. You haven't been tested like me. She didn't know it was the Prophet. And he, peace be upon him, sallallahu because he was humble, he left her alone and went home. He didn't stop there and say, who he talked to. Later, people who were there and saw that told her, oh my God, that was the Prophet of Allah. You spoke to him like this. Meaning her initial reaction was, go away, So she went to his house quickly. Because she realized. So she went to apologize. She said, when I went to his house, there were no guards. This is not necessary, she didn't need to mention that, but it tells us also that the Prophet ﷺ, despite his status, there was nobody there guarding him. Because his husnul dhan billah, his good thoughts of Allah, that Allah protects him. She said, there were no guards. So he came out, and she said, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was you. And then he said this to her. He taught her and taught us. He says, إِنَّمَا الصَّبْرُ عِنْدَ الصَّدْمَةِ الْأُولَى. He said, my sister, real patience, true patience is at the initial shock. When you're first tested, this is when you need to show that patience. This is when you shouldn't lose it. It's not after you've lost it and you screamed and you shouted and abused everybody, then you say, okay, now I can calm down and now I have patience. Too late, mate. Right? It's too late, brother. But this comes back to tarbiyah. This comes back to spiritual nurturing. The stronger our faith is, the stronger our spiritual nurturing is, the stronger we are disciplined. Because it's not easy to reach that state, but it requires mujahada, a lot of struggle and effort. And you need to struggle within yourself, you need to teach yourself, you need to tell yourself. So for example, if you want to learn sabr or true patience, some ulama say go and write down all the verses in the Quran that talk about patience, and write down some of the hadith that talk about patience, keep that in your pocket, and after every prayer, take it out and read it. And say to yourself, I want this in my life. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا مَنْ تَصَبَّرَ صَبَّرَهُ اللَّهُ. He or she who exercises patience, meaning trains themselves to be patient, Allah will bestow upon them the quality of patience. Because it's a quality. Right? So we don't lose it and scream and shout and complain and then say, oh no. But you're right, that's the natural response. Why? Because there is no tarbiyah, there is no nurturing of the soul. Inshallah ta'ala, that's what we need to be focused on. How do we nurture our souls so we become refined human beings, so we know how to have adab, respect and manners with Allah, so that when He does test us, we know how to respond. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Thank you for listening. Wassalamu alaikum. We shall see you again, inshallah, if we are alive, next week, 6:30, Saturday at the Marion Mosque. Be there or, what do they say? Be squared. Assalamu alaikum.